Hey everyone, welcome back to our place. We are super excited to have Julie Bolt from Champions Place with us today. Champions Place is located here in Georgia, but they have a super awesome program for you at home. So, Julie, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks so much. I'm excited to be here.
So, tell us a little bit about Champions Place and like the Titans League to start, and then we can go into what the home opportunities look like.
Okay. So it's hard for me to do this in a short, like elevator pitch because I love it and there's so much I could say. But long story short, my boss, the one who started the nonprofit, is Rick Thompson. And he started all of this back in 2009 when his son aged out of high school, out of a lot of programming geared towards people with disabilities. And he was in a wheelchair sports league that he was super passionate about. And as he aged out of high school, he aged out of that opportunity to be engaged. And so my boss and the founder of Champions Community Foundation, alongside a couple other parents, started a wheelchair sports league in 2009 for young adults with disabilities to come and play wheelchair sports. So it provides opportunity for community and for fellowship and physical activity and all the good things. And he sit from 2009 to now, obviously a lot of things have happened and a lot of things have come about. In 2020, Champions Place, which is a facility for young adults with physical disabilities, a space for them to live, independent living, was open in 2020. There are 14 residents and two full-time caregivers that live there. They're actually OT students from a local college. And then from there, we've grown into a couple other programs that I'll share about. Champions Place at Home, which is what I'm here to discuss, and Champions Community Connect, which is purely virtual, which is we offer virtual events 5 nights a week where you join on Zoom for young adults with physical disabilities. So for them to just get online and engage with friends and laugh and have fun, because we recognize that transportation can be an issue and maybe sometimes is something that holds you back from getting to engage with peers, and space and proximity and all those things. So we do 5 nights a week. We do virtual events to promote friendship and belonging, and Champions Place at Home, which I will share about now or whenever you're ready for me to.
Yeah. So I want to specify too, because I think that there's a few things. So primary is physical disability, but that does not, you're
Yes.
not limited if you have a physical disability as well as a cognitive disability.
Yes.
Yeah. And then the other thing that I always just like to share with parents when it comes to this is how cool is it that this group of dads saw this problem and then started the Titans League. And so if you are in a community, no matter where you are in the country, there's probably a group of you that are aging out of your school programs at the same time. And so there's so much power within a group of people and what you can do. So look up the Titans League. I think that there are other places in the country now too, right? Aren't there a few in other states?
Not like directly tied to us specifically, but yes, there are for
Yeah.
sure.
So look up the Titans League website. You can kind of see what it's all about. And if you're interested in starting something like that in your community, give it a try, reach out to us. We can try to help you with that. Um, okay, so now let's go into how this has evolved into, is it called Champions Place at Home?
It's
Yeah, Champions
like a
Place at
whole
Home.
another language. Yes.
Yeah. And if you're in Georgia, what that can look like, what it is that you are looking for somebody to specifically kind of qualify for it and all that kind of stuff.
Okay. Yes. So Champions Place is a living facility for young adults with disabilities, and it's awesome. And if you are local to like Johns Creek, Roswell area, you can come for a tour because it's phenomenal. And I think it's the greatest thing ever. So when that opened in 2020, obviously the amount of people that showed an interest in wanting to live there was a lot higher than the amount of space that we have. And so we have a waiting list of like over 100 people that are like, I'm really interested in living in something like this. And my boss, Rick, saw that and was like, yeah, I wish that I could make it, that I could just expand this for miles wide.
Put them
But
everywhere.
right, yeah, so that everybody who has a slight interest in living there can come and live there. But he obviously, there are resources and just like wanting to steward that dream well and make it sustainable for years to come, all of those things, we can't do that. And so he came up with the idea of Champions Place at Home. So Champions Place at Home is kind of like a stepping stone to, hey, I have an interest in moving out and living independently and gaining more independence in my life as someone who has a disability. But living in a place like Champions Place isn't necessarily an option for me right now. So, like, what can I do where I am right now
Yep.
to kind of gain some independence? So, Champions Place, the facility was obviously specifically built for people with disabilities. So think like there's no thresholds when you're going into like from one room to the next. Like a lot of things like the sink and um things like that are like lower so that people like if you're in a wheelchair like it's more accessible for you, things like that. So from like a building perspective it's very accessible, and also from a technology standpoint. So all of the
Well,
doors are automatic. Oh,
let me
sorry.
ask a quick question about that.
Yeah.
Do you have to be in a, like, are all of the residents and everyone who qualifies in a wheelchair for Champions Place at Home? Oh,
No,
okay.
so there are two residents, two that are not in a wheelchair,
Okay.
um, but have a physical disability. But so no, not everybody is in a wheelchair, but so 12 out of the 14 are,
Okay.
because that's primarily is just seems to be like the
Yeah.
most common.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
But no, you don't have to be in a wheelchair to live there. You just have to have a physical disability. And so one of the residents uses like a cane essentially, and one of them is able to doesn't use anything necessarily, but occasionally is in a wheelchair. But so from a technology standpoint, it's also an accessible living space. So we use Google technology. And I have to be careful because I do have one of my rooms. And so if it hears me, it might start going off and turning my lamps on and off. But so we use Google technology that controls things like the blinds, the lamps, the overhead lights, the temperature in your room, the fan, all the things that like you and I flip on and don't think a thing about, maybe someone with a physical disability isn't able to do.
Yeah.
And so it allows them to control these things with their voice. And so Rick thought of the idea of, while we can't have everyone come and live here, how can we make their home more accessible? So we came up with the program Champions Place at Home, where this is a free program. I like to say that up front because I know that when you start thinking about technology, you see money signs because it's
Yeah.
expensive.
Yeah.
Um, so this is completely free. We fundraise, and that's how we're able to pay for these things. And because we're passionate about it, and we care about it, and we see that it brings life change and is life giving for people that receive it. So we essentially, Champions Place at Home, what we do is to sort of qualify. You you have to have a physical disability,
Right.
and generally speaking, and this isn't 100% always the case, but you have to be able to use your voice. Like your voice needs to be pretty distinguishable to a device like Google. Um, However, I will say we have done this for people, like we did an install a few months ago for a young lady that uses eye gaze. And so she was able to like use her eyes, and her device would speak and say, she used actually Alexa, which I also have in here. We call her the A word
To
when
whisper,
we're
that's
on
so
our.
funny.
Yeah. We also have so she's able to say like, Alexa. No, actually, I think I have my Alexa turned off. Alexa, open my door. And so we put an automated door for her. So now she went from, like if she was in her room by herself, oh no, yours going.
I think it's
You have
hilarious.
to be
Yeah.
so careful these days. Yeah. So now she's went from being, I have to have someone down here at all times with me. Like if I want to go outside, to be like, hey, I'm independent in the way of like I can go out on my back porch by myself. Like she has no use of her arms to open the door, but now she's able to open the door through her using eye gaze to Alexa. So
Yeah, that's
really,
amazing.
really incredible. So you don't, it doesn't, you're not taken out of being able to receive Champions Place at Home if you can't speak. That's not what that
Yeah.
means. So I just like to make that very clear, that
Do you
we've
guys
done eye
service
gaze.
all areas of Georgia?
So, okay, that's a great question. Sorry, I'm kind of a rambler if you can't
No, no,
tell.
no.
I just get a little excited. So right now, I would say that we're still pretty in the early stages of kind of continuing to develop Champions Place at
Yeah.
Home. Like ideally one day we'll be able to go to like another country and do it. Like that's my dream. But right now our limitations are about within like an hour-ish of Atlanta. So
Okay.
like in any direction. So like we go south, we go to like we've gone to Athens, which is like a little bit further than an hour. But if you kind of put like a pin in Atlanta on the map and then you just kind of draw out from there, we
Yeah.
pretty say about an hour-ish. Um, and so what we do is the process is I like to tell people this up front. It because my mom is the type of mom that if you start telling her she has to fill out all this stuff, she's like, I'm not doing it.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. I think it's important to know that because parents automatically are like, okay, if it's free, it's gonna take 2 years.
Right. Yeah. And you're going to ask me a million questions, the same question over and over 100 times, and I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
100%. That's how my mom is. So I try to be upfront and say, here's the process. Um, you, I guess we'll post like my email maybe
Yeah,
with
if you're
this.
interested in getting connected with the program, you can reach out to us and then we will do a mutual connection to Julie for you guys.
So you would email me and say, hey, I'm interested. And I would say, great, we're excited. And I would send you a registration link. And that's just like very basic questions like your name, your phone number, your email, like that. It will take you literally 2 seconds. And then after we receive your registration, I would send you a questionnaire, which is a little bit more in depth and just kind of asks more about like, what is your home environment like? What spaces does the potential recipient of Champions Visit Home occupy? Like, do they have their own room? Do they have, things like that? Are you a renter or an owner of the space that you live in?
Oh, yeah, I
Because
didn't
that
think
kind of
about that.
determines
Yeah.
what we can do, like how in depth we can be. Like, can we take out a ceiling fan and replace it with a smart one? Things like that, and just a little bit more about like the applicant's ability. Like, do they have any use of their hands? Do they have any use? Like, what is their voice like? Do you currently use Alexa or Google? Questions like that, and then so it'd probably take you maybe 15 minutes at the most, I would think. So you would send a questionnaire and then I would contact you and set up a Zoom meeting, which just so we're able to meet you. Typically, it's a parent or caregiver filling out the
Yeah.
questionnaire and then able to meet the applicant and just kind of talk to them and get to know you briefly. And then you would take us around your house on a Zoom call and show us like the
Like
space where you live.
showing the, yeah.
Yeah, and you show us like your light switches, which is so funny. You would not believe the questions I've had to email and say, like, can you send me a picture of your light switch in the bedroom to the left of the door? Like, so, but that way we're able to say, okay, we see where you live. We see what we're able to do that we think could bring independence for you. And then after the Zoom call as a team, we're a team of three, small but mighty. We get together and we say, hey, I think that this person could really benefit from having a smart fan, smart switches, smart plugs, maybe an automatic door if we're like, hey, they don't have to have a caregiver with them at all times. And like
Yeah.
this could bring independence for them. Like if their parent wants to run to the grocery store or their caregiver and they can leave them at home now because they're able to use the automatic door in case something were to happen, and just bring freedom in that capacity. And so we make recommendations, essentially, is what we call it. And I would email you and say, hey, um, here are the things that we think could be liberating for you if we put them in your space. Like, how do you feel about these? And everyone typically, no one's ever said no. Everyone's like, yes, we're excited. And then we schedule an install and we come out and we do the installation. So I would say from like the day you email me that you're interested to the day that we install is 90%. The timeline is determined by how quickly you fill out the registration, fill out the questionnaire, and then probably, us scheduling the Zoom call, and then the installation has we have to line up a couple schedules. So
Yeah.
the most that ever takes on our end max is probably 3 to 4 weeks, just
Okay.
because of our partner that we partner with that does like the actual wiring and like taking out your ceiling fan and replacing it, because I do not do that.
It's
You would
not in
not
your
want
job
me to.
description.
You would not want me to do that. But we have a partner called Trusted Toolbox that they're phenomenal, incredible. And they actually do like we're going to rewire this thing right here to make this light switch, and we're going to put this light switch on, things like that. We have to align with their schedule and our schedule and your schedule. So that sometimes is like what takes the longest, which, like I said, is never more than a month. So it's
And
pretty
what
quick.
about age?
Age. Yes, good question. So we, because of how this all started, my boss's heart is really for people that are kind of beginning to age out of high school.
Right.
So we typically um around 16ish and up is like when we'll start to like, hey, we want you to be engaged with us after high school, or starting now if you want to. Typically people are like, I'm busy, I have school, like I have programs that I'm still eligible to be a part of that take up my time right now. But we have a couple high schoolers in our program that we've done Champions Place at Home with, and now they like regularly attend our wheelchair sports events and our social events. And so, but typically 16 is about the youngest that we do, and then all the way up to, there's not really an age limit. Like we've
Yeah.
done people in their 50s, all the way up into that age. And I don't imagine that we would go older than that too if someone expressed interest and like we saw that would be a good fit. So typically beginning to age out of high school, 16ish and then and up. So
Yeah.
pretty wide spectrum.
And this is what I always tell families, and we have a lot of content on this for all of the families that watch. Independent life skills are really important. And the quicker that you can get those independent life skills established is going to set up more opportunities for your child. So it's important to kind of think, could this be a successful for your child, or are you nervous about it? So that's why we do this kind of stuff. Like, let's educate the families so they can maybe push themselves a little bit and say, well, maybe if I had this, then I could go to the grocery store for 10 minutes or just go drive around the block. Like,
Right.
test it
Or
out
just step
first.
outside.
Yeah. Um, and it's a super cool process, and it's free and it's quick and stuff. There's no catch. So I was like,
Great catch. I know people are like, tell me the catch. I'm like, I promise there's not one.
and it could turn into a really cool social opportunity too, with all of the Titans League, and then um who knows what it could lead to down the road when your child gets older and all of that kind of stuff.
Right.
So,
For
super cool.
sure.
If you are interested in getting, if you're in Georgia and are interested in getting connected to Julie and learning more about Champions Place at Home, we'll put a link on our website, probably under our experts page. So just go check that out. If you are somewhere else in the country and you are still interested in looking at programs like this, also reach out to us for our email. We can see if there's any programs, or maybe even see if there's just like things that and items that we can get you connected to put in your own home. But Julie, thank you so much for telling us about it, and hopefully we'll get some more families with super cool, awesome technologies in their house. I wish I had it in my house. So,
Awesome. I can't lie. I do have some of it in mine and I do love it.
so, all right. Thank you. And again, reach out to us if you're interested. Julie, we will, I'm sure, connect again soon.
Okay, great. Thanks so much.